It's good to catch up with National Party leader David Littleproud. How are you, David?
Yeah, good. Good to be with you, mate.
Look, always a pleasure to chat with you, and there's been a hot topic running around with biosecurity. You and I have spoken about it before. We've talked about it a lot here on Flow. Now the federal government, you're claiming that they're taking credit for your hard work.
Well, look, we started in October 2021 a national biosecurity strategy, and what that was about making sure federal, state, governments, industry, all understood their roles and responsibilities around biosecurity. And it was effectively completed before the election, and Murray Watt at the press club yesterday heralded as a national first that he'd created. Well, I don't particularly care. The thing, what it does show is that he's masking all the inaction that he's taken on FMD to try and cover it up with announcements. He's obviously gone to the department and said, what can I announce, so that it looks as though we've actually done something on FMD. He was 4 weeks late on even starting to implement foot mats after tens of thousands of people have just waltzed through our airports when he thought he could cover that off with dogs and not understanding that our dogs can't detect foot and mouth disease and can't pick it up on the bottom of someone's boot. So that was a huge vulnerability he left bare. He then made a big announcement out of 1 million new vaccines for Indonesia about a month ago, and not one of those vaccines have gone into a beast yet. So this government has really done nothing, and what we've said to them is, make all the announcements you want, and all the announcements he has made around extra dogs and extra biosecurity all came out of the budget. There's no new measures, no new money, and even the $10 million he announced yesterday is money already in the budget to go and help Indonesia. But the way he should help Indonesia is start to administer some of those vaccines, but he should also ban people from Indonesia bringing food back with them, either on them or in their baggage, because that's a huge vulnerability to us. And he can also put in place one of these 3D X-ray scanning machines that will let our biosecurity officers know what's in people's bags, even boots. And on that, it'll actually show whether there's organic matter on those boots. We're doing it with New Zealand. Why wouldn't we just pivot now to Indonesia and try to cut away that vulnerability? And this is where the decisive action needs to take place. I think we can stop FMD, but you need a government that's taking decisive action, decisive calls about making sure that they're putting in place the measures not only in Indonesia but here in Australia to protect us from this hideous disease. It'll cost us close to JobKeeper, $80 billion, and cost you every time you go to the checkout. It'll cost you more for your dairy and your meat.
Now, when you talk about the tougher measures that you're looking for from the government, someone notoriously brought back a McMuffin from a McDonald's in Bali. They were hit with a fine. Were you seeking some tougher measures than that in terms of what the fine someone might face if they bring that type of material in?
Well, we actually lifted it to the maximum you possibly can for penalties in Australia to $2,664. It was $444. And Murray Watt couldn't even tell a number. He said it was around $2,500. We did that about 18 months ago. But we also brought in the cancellation of visas. And even during COVID, we'd cancelled 15 visas of foreign nationals who'd come back and flouted our biosecurity laws. And they're not welcome back for 3 years. We put them back on the plane they came, and they can take a running jump. We don't particularly care that they can't come back. And so these are the types of things that need to happen. And that's why when this person brought in this Hungry Jacks from Indonesia, it just goes to show that the call that we're saying on banning people from bringing food back into this country from Indonesia is a sensible one, because it sends a clear message. You just simply can't carry food. So you don't have these indiscretions where someone may have even inadvertently done it and put it in their bag and not even thought about it and not declared, because there are still people that don't declare inadvertently. There's some that do it maliciously, and they're the ones you want to square up with big time. But it just goes to show we were right when we said you should just ban people from Indonesia carrying food product, that when we found people bringing this fast food into the country. So we're just saying the government, all the signs are there for you to take these actions. Like, it's not rocket science. It's this thing called common sense. And when you start seeing these signs being come to fruition at the border, like the fact that people are bringing food in, that's your cue. That's your cue to step forward and to change the policy and the protocols in place. And it can be done quite quickly. It's not going to offend Indonesia that you can't get on a plane with food on you. It's a pretty simple process. And this is the thing we're saying, the government, just act decisively, otherwise you're going to risk the lot.
You're talking about bans on bringing food into the country, but where is the opposition exactly on banning people actually coming from some of these countries for a period of time? Are you still calling for a travel ban?
No, we've basically said the last brief we got was that the chief veterinary officer said that the yield curve was going up, not down, in terms of number of outbreaks in Indonesia. So what we said to the government is explain the science. Tell the Australian people and Indonesia what is that threshold point in which we would have to have tighter border controls, whether that's a full border closure or whether that's simply funneling all flights through one airport to make sure that we had the resources to screen them all. So what we're saying is they need to be honest. The only people that get that advice from the department wouldn't give that to me in opposition. They only give it to the government. So we're saying to the government, well, just be honest. Is there a threshold point in whereby we would have to increase border measures so that everyone knows? And if we've got people in Indonesia helping, why can't we say to them, well, this is what we need to do to make sure we don't hit that juncture? But the government won't be open and transparent, and that's creating anxiety. Murray Watt, even yesterday on TV, was saying, well, the Indonesians are saying they've got it under control. We're not sure, but we think they have. We've got people on the ground. He should know intrinsically whether this is spreading or it's not. And the fact he doesn't shows that he's not in control of the situation. And that's what's creating anxiety. You've got a government, you've got a minister, you've got a lawyer from the Gold Coast that's trying to protect our borders, that doesn't understand the severity of it, but take the decisive action when the cues come there for you to take them.
Now, we saw in the cattle and sheep markets, and we may yet see in the wool market, some panic in the pricing when it comes to a large of that. Our analysts are saying is attributable to concerns about foot and mouth disease. Just to be clear, Australia remains foot and mouth disease free, but I gather you'd say, just like national security, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
Well, it is. And look, we are foot and mouth free, and you've got to understand the world knows we are FMD free, because there can't be a box of meat that goes out of this country unless you tick a FMD-free box. And so we tick those boxes every day. And for AMIC and these organisations to say that the markets around the world are wondering whether they've got FMD or not is nonsense, because we're sending boxes out every day that have it ticked that says we are FMD-free. And so we letting people and industry groups talk nonsense. There is vigilance that's required, and if we are vigilant, I'm confident we can keep this out. I'm very confident we can keep this out, but we need a government that takes those decisive decisions when the cues come around where the risks are and the vulnerabilities are. If you do that, we'll be more than safe. And I think that's where people need to be calm, but they want a government that can give them that confidence, and that's what Murray Watt now needs to do, is give the Australian farming sector that confidence that he's got this under control.
David Littleproud, great to talk with you. This important information for our livestock and fibre producers. Thanks for joining us today on Flow.
Thanks for having me.